creating your seat at the table with your host, Ashley Little, as she welcomes her guest to the table.
Welcome to Creating Your Seat at the Table. I am your host, Ashley Little. A little bit about myself: corporate professional by day, entrepreneur by night, four-time best-selling author, CEO and founder of Ashley Little Enterprises, LLC, owner and creator of Creative Broadcasting, and co-founder and owner of Talk Radio and TV Network, LLP. Tonight we have an amazing special VIP guest, Dr. Geneva Williams. A little bit about her. When you think of the words trailblazer, influencer, and community advocate, Dr. Geneva Williams, CEO of Dr. Geneva Speaks, is a woman who should come to mind. Dr. Geneva led the United Way, founded an innovative multi-sector national partnership model, and launched a new leadership development program for girls. She raised millions for community change initiatives, serves as a university professor, and as superintendent of a public school system. After an award-winning 30-plus year career in nonprofit management, she became a certified life coach and founded Dr. Geneva Speaks, LLC, to inspire leaders for greater purpose and impact. Dr. Geneva hosts a podcast on Apple Podcasts and iHeartRadio called Ignite to Impact. Her weekly blogs inspire women on how to have a vibrant, meaningful life at every age. Dr. Geneva consults with nonprofits like Detroit Future City and the Crest Foundation. Crane's Detroit Business Cities her as one of Detroit's most influential women. Dr. Geneva won the prestigious title of Miss Black Fit and Fine, a beauty pageant encouraging healthy lifestyles for women over 50. She's an alumni of Morgan State University, where she serves on Morgan's Foundation Board. Dr. Geneva earned a doctorate in education leadership from Wayne State University, and recently she was honored as a Golden Soror of Alpha Kappa Alpha Sorority Incorporated. Her new book, Justice on the Jersey Shore, was already released in 2019. Welcome to the table, the amazing Dr. Geneva Jones Williams.
Ashley, thank you so much. I'm so delighted to be sitting at your table. It's my pleasure.
You know what, Dr. Geneva, I'm honored to have you at the table.
Thank you.
To share your wisdom and knowledge with my listeners. You all are in for a treat, listeners, tonight.
Thank you so much.
So I've read your amazing bio. So please tell us more about your entrepreneur journey.
Oh, my goodness, Ashley. You know, it's been an exciting, thrilling, up and down roller coaster all around adventure. You know, after being in the world of nonprofit for so long, because I was raised in the United Way, worked with foundations and philanthropy, learned so much about community work and creating impact at the neighborhood level, that stepping into the world of entrepreneurship was a real transition. And so I struggled with it at first because, you know, I was used to getting that paycheck, you know, every 2 weeks. No matter what, that paycheck would come in. And so it was real different to have to switch up and have to go sing for my money. And, you know, constantly have that in the mix. And then, you know, being on my own, and I was going through personal transition, too, because I'd lost my parents and my husband all around the same time as I started my company. So that's what I mean about an up and down roller coaster road. And but then I, through the grace of God and faith, I discovered that leading a nonprofit organization and leading my business for me was really almost the same kind of work, because it really was not about me. It really was about the people that I was trying to serve, my customers, my clients. And if I kept my vision focused on them and focused on more, better, and faster services and bringing value and creating meaning, then it was okay. So I learned a lot, and it's been incredible. And through all the struggles and failures, I recently received NABO, the National Association of Women Business Organizations, 10 Top Michigan Business Awards. So one of 10 leaders in Michigan. And so I say that because what I discovered through all the trials and tribulations was that you, in fact, can reinvent yourself. You can imagine something new and different for yourself and make it come true.
I love it. I love it. And you just said some amazing things, serving and bringing value and creating meaning. So could you talk more about that for our listeners? Because that's really what it's all about, right? Serving and making sure we're bringing value to everybody that we're connecting with and making sure we're chasing the impact.
Yes. Well, I discovered how important meaning was on my knees as I was reading obituaries. Mm-hmm. As I mentioned, my mom and dad and my husband, who I lost to cancer, all passed within about 18 months or so. And it was really a dark, tough time for me, Ashley. And one of the many nights when I was on my knees praying, asking for help, trying to get out of my pit, I was reading I had all the three obituaries in front of me, and I was looking at them, and I had written each one of them. And I had never planned or thought about being in that space where I would be writing the obituaries of the three most important people ever in my life. And as I was reading them, I read them every night, but at this night, as I was reading them, I noticed that they all had in common on the front covers the day they were born and the day they died. But it was that dash, that horizontal stroke in the middle where the meaning was, because that's what I remembered about them. That's what I found in my heart, and that's what I held on to, that dash. And I realized that that's really what life is about, that meaning in the dash, that is what you do with your life. So that got me re-energized to reimagine my purpose in life, what I really, really wanted to do, and how important meaning, purpose, legacy, all those things were. And so I recommitted myself to finding that meaning. And much of my meaning, besides having fun, having a good time, enjoying my grandchildren, all those kinds of fun things, a great part of my life continues to be finding that value, those lessons, that wit, that wisdom, those learnings that I can share with others, particularly younger generations. So that's what I'm doing now with my new company. But again, just like my job for 40 years in nonprofits wasn't really a job, I was really having so much fun. I was doing my life purpose. Running my business isn't really a business. Now, my accountant, disagrees with me, okay? He keeps me focused, all right? But every day, what gets me out of the bed, is, the opportunity, the hope, the chance to bring value. And I just think it's something all of us need to find, whatever it is.
Yeah. And I want to say you bring value every day. I consistently follow you, and you are always helping someone else and just doing great things in the community. And that's why you're so influential. And, all these amazing awards, well-deserved. Well-deserved.
Well, thank you.
Yes,
and many of them, many of them really are a tribute to the hundreds and hundreds of people young and old, that I've met along the way who have shared their experiences and helped me learn and grow. So it's about giving all that back.
I love it. I love it. And that was, Geneva, you're passionate about inspiring women to have a vibrant, meaningful life at every age. So please tell listeners more about your passion for that.
Well, I just feel that every day is something special that the Lord has given us, and we've got so much, particularly these days. Women have so much that they can do, they can contribute. And being over 50, I think when I was in my 50s, when I celebrated my 50th birthday, was in my 50s, you know, my kids were, moving on, and I was looking at things differently, found a few gray hairs. My body wasn't acting like it used to act all the time, though I work out almost every day, but it was still different. And I found myself looking for, I was really, frankly, kind of wondering, was this it? It's like half a century. I was wondering, is this it? Really kind of concerned and not sure of my next steps. And so that's when I decided that, life really needs to begin again. And I think we all have these turning points. And when we come to those turning points, I think we have to create a new vision for ourselves, set new goals, really look at how we're taking care of ourselves, and just reinvent and reimagine ourselves for every turning point and every new stage in life. So when a couple of years ago, I was encouraged by a friend of mine to try out for a beauty pageant, and I said I could never do anything like that, but this was a pageant that was special. It was for women over 50, recognizing how we age, particularly as black women, how we age so wonderfully. And when I found out what the purpose was, and that whoever won would have a platform for talking to women, and particularly young girls, about the aging process, how important it was for us to keep finding meaning and purpose, and that we could do anything that we want to at any age. So I decided, hey, why not? And I won. And I really had no idea that I would be a beauty pageant queen at 69. And that's what happened. And so I always tell women, you can be anything you want to be at any age. Give it a try. Why not? What do you have to lose? I do think there are a couple of tips and things that help get you there, like imagining, thinking about yourself, vision, what you want to be, putting together those goals like you've been doing all of your life. You just kind of plan them out for this new phase. Take care of yourself. And there's so many role models now of women who are at 50, 60, 70, even 80, who are just doing incredible things. I just wrote a blog about Patti LaBelle, who recently turned 70. She's still doing it, looking good. We have women in Congress. Look at Maxine Waters. I mean, that's just is bad. Was she in her 80s?
Yes.
And so as we look at, age ain't nothing but a number, which is true. I mean, you have your physical, chronological age, but then your mind has another age. Your emotion has another age. You have different ages in you depending upon your mindset. So we can do anything.
Yes, we can. So what is some advice you would give to the woman that's listening, Dr. Geneva, who's not motivated because she thinks it's too late because of her age?
Well, I think one thing is the mindset shift, and because if that's what you think, that's what you'll be. Okay, so if you think you are, what is it? If you think you're right or you think you're wrong, you are.
Right.
So whatever
right.
you think is, if you think it's it, that's what you're going to be. So one of the things I say is rethink what you can do, and then, as I mentioned before, look for role models because there's plenty out there. Google it. Google women over 50. You would be amazed at the blogs, the magazines, the women, the stories about what women are doing over 50. And they're having this incredible impact, even more now in fashion and style and the media and politics. And so, see what other women are doing. And then think about a game plan. One of the things that I did two things, Ashley. One, I set up established a Facebook group called Extraordinary Women Influencers.
Yes.
And as a place for women to come and share and talk and feel and be empowered. And so I think joining groups like that makes a difference because you can, exchange and dialogue with women. And you know how important that is because as your book talks about the sisterhood, let's face it, we as women most likely will outlive our partners if we're married or if we have a partner or a spouse. We'll probably outlive them. So even more and more as you get older, sisterhood and having relationships and conversation and connections with other women becomes critical and key. And you can bounce a whole lot of ideas off of other women. So I established the Facebook group, and then I put together, Ashley, a Vibrant Life Blueprint. And this is a step-by-step process, game plan that women can follow to reimagine, reinvent themselves. And in that blueprint, I talk about 4 key steps: creating vision, setting goals, not just setting goals, but really activating goals. Because everybody talks about goals, but how do you actually make goals come alive, put some legs on them? So I talk about that. Influence. At any age, we have to always think about how we can be influential with others, within ourselves. And then the 4th step is creating your self-care plan. I'm a big, big component of loving ourselves, and that self-care is not selfish. It ain't selfish. It's what we really need to do. It's not a luxury. We really need to do it every day. So in this blueprint, I help women put together a self-care calendar, like an agenda, so that every day you're making yourself your number one priority and you don't feel bad about it.
I love it. And I just want to say your group, Extraordinary Influencers, I am blessed to be a part of it. And it's women of all
good.
ages.
Yes, I'm so
that
glad
are doing, yes, that are doing amazing things for our listeners that are listening. That is an amazing group. So I enjoy it.
Thank you. Tell your listeners to join. Tell your listeners
yes.
I love having some, go to Facebook, join my group, and contribute. Because that's so important. So when you see something, when you want to say something, I ask my extraordinary women who are with me, what's the number one thing you want to talk about? And I got a lot of feedback, but I heard a lot about balance, talking about work-life balance and how do you keep your life in balance. How do you reimagine your next moves? Those kinds of things. So we're starting to talk a lot about those things. It's a really cool group, and I invite your listeners to join. Facebook,
yes.
Extraordinary Women Influencers.
Please join this powerful group. And Dr. Geneva, you were talking about the Vibrant Life Blueprint. So how can our listeners reach out to you for those services? Because I know you are a certified life coach as well. So is that part of your coaching services?
Yes. So the Vibrant Life Blueprint, you could go to thevibrantlifeblueprint.com, and it's Dr. Geneva Speaks, which is my website as well, and that'll connect you right to the Vibrant Life Blueprint course. It's an online video-based course. I've got about 14 videos in there, so I actually talk to you real deal about vision and self-care and all those things. And then I have downloadable exercises and resource material that you can use. And you can self-pace it, at your leisure. So that's how you can connect to that. And, of course, I always, if people want to subscribe and we can be together and join my community, you can go to drgenevaspeaks.com, and just as soon as you get there, fill in that little box, and you'll be on my email list, and we can stay in touch.
Yes, so please, listeners, reach out and get involved with Dr. Geneva. She is definitely someone to know. So let's talk more about your life coaching services, Dr. Geneva, and some of the other services that you offer.
Well, yeah. So I do have one-to-one services. And again, when you go to my website, you can connect with me on that. But the women that I talk to really are interested in me helping them figure out their next steps. So often when we get to a turning point in our lives, particularly for women over 50, which may be you're approaching retirement, or maybe you have some new career opportunity, or there's a change in marital status, or a milestone birthday, like a 50, 55, 60. And it's that turning point because you stop and say, oh, what's going on? And sometimes, even though you feel you've been doing pretty good, you might be a little unsure, a little uncertain about, well, what do I do next? And so a lot of the women that I work with want help in figuring out next steps. So I provide that help through strategy conversations, an hour or 2 hours, or some women will sign up for 4 hours with me over a month. So maybe an hour conversation a week. And we actually it can be very intense, but I help women really figure out some next steps. We put the game plan together. We put action steps together with a timeline, accountability. But this is really, if women are committed to doing it, I'm just there kind of helping them discover what they already have, what they really want to do. And it's my pleasure to kind of help them see the pieces, kind of figure it out. So that's one thing. Another thing I do, Ashley, is I blog and I have a podcast.
Yes, you do.
Yes. So a lot of my blogs are about, so I write a couple times a week about, issues particularly facing women over 50, and issues of, how do you lead your life, how should you lead your life, tips and advice, different ways to approach situations in life. I like to highlight things that women are doing, particularly women over 50, give advice and tips about, what to do, what fun things to do, what kinds of, how you can find meaning in your life, just a combination of things focused on next moves, women, and that whole aging process that we all go through. And then my podcast, Ignite to Impact, really gives advice on some great leadership advice, just if people want to be inspired to make good things happen. But, being able to use your influence, your leadership to create extraordinary things in organizations or in your life or in your community, that can be very rewarding. And a lot of people, particularly women, want to be able to do that. They want to have better results in their organizations or with their career or in their life. And that's what my podcast is about. So I talk to influencers, people who are successful, but in many cases are everyday folk who are in the arts or education or politics. And they've got success stories to share. They got tips, they got advice. And so we talk and we learn about their stories. And so if you're interested in just some good old-fashioned advice sometimes, that's a podcast for you. My podcast would be perfect for you. I'm also, Ashley, starting to do solo podcasts, solo conversations about what I've learned on my Ignite to Impact. For the past couple of years, I've been interviewing phenomenal guests from all across the country. So I think I'm on about podcast 80-something. I'm almost at 100. And they've been they've been fabulous conversations with influencers, from all across the country, because there's so many great people doing great things. And so I want to bring these stories to folk. So I'm going to start telling some of my own stories, too. So I'm enjoying doing the podcast. Yep.
Hey, and your podcast is amazing. When I say Dr. Geneva interviews some amazing people, you're amazing yourself, but it's definitely inspiring, right? You have an amazing podcast. And I mean, you've been in the podcast and media industry for a long time, right?
Well, yeah, I know it seems that way to me. It really does. But I started podcasting during that time that I mentioned I was going through my transition with my losses, my family losses.
Yes.
A friend of mine said, you've always wanted your own radio show. And I said, yeah. So she said, well, the thing to do now is to do a podcast. I said, a what cast? She said, now this is about 3 years ago. She said, a podcast. I said, well, what is that? So she said, well, let me show you. And I started off with Blog Talk Radio in my kitchen. I would get my computer and plug in my phone and, just talk to people every week. And then, Ashley, I'd go in my room and I'd cry, because I was going through my grief. And, I tell people that podcasting that I did, I think that helped save my life because it took the focus, one, off of me, and I was talking to all these amazing people and discovering their stories and hearing about their successes and failures and learning tips and tricks and advice about, how you get out your pit and this great advice. And so I began to come around, and again, looking for that dash, looking for finding my meaning. A lot of it I found through the podcasting. And so then after I did about 50 of those conversations once a week for about a year, then I started with a new podcast, which was, the one I'm doing now, Ignite to Impact. And it's just been incredible opportunity.
I love it. So why do you think, what is your advice with this, Dr. Geneva? Why is it important for every business to have a podcast?
Oh, well, first of all, you get to tell your story through your voice. And I think that's the most important thing because you're able to talk to your client, customer, avatar. And you can controlled. You can say what you want. You can say, this is the value I want to bring, and you can bring it. I mean, there's no middleman in that. You can do it. You just can do it. And so that's one reason that I think podcasting is important. Secondly, it's very economical. It's not totally free, but it can be almost, depending on how you do it, because you can do something like a blog talk radio, which is a minimum price per month, or you can do some of these other apps that let you, do your podcast, and then you can just put it up. So it's very economical, and it's a way for you to, again, reach your audience, saying what you want to say, giving your message at a very reasonable price. And then the third thing I think is it just gives voice, and particularly for women, I think it's so important for our voice to be heard.
Yes.
And this is a platform that you can create, that you can imagine, that you can put your fingerprint on, your voice on, and it's yours. And you can own it and do it. So those are the reasons that I think that podcasting. And then, there's one other thing. You can then take your podcast and repurpose it. So whatever you talk about, you can put that into a blog, and then you can put your podcast into a vlog, a video blog, which is, the latest rage now. So you can do three things. You can have a podcast, and from that podcast, you can create a blog, and from that podcast and blog, you can create a vlog, which is a video blog. So you have the content, you create the content once, and then you repurpose it several times. And, again, from a business point of view, that's a very productive way to do business.
I love it. For our listeners that are listening, I'm telling you, Dr. Geneva, it's amazing. So, you just heard how to really repurpose your podcast and why it's so important for every business to have one, because our voices need to be heard. I love it. So, Dr. Geneva, for every listener that's listening that would like to be a guest on your podcast, what is the process for them to be a guest?
Well, they can go to my website, or they can go to ignitetoimpact.com. That'll get them directly to my podcast, and there's a form there that they can fill out and tell me what they want to talk about, and I always love to hear from people who want to give voice and to share voice. What I also suggest to folk is go listen to my podcast, download them, hopefully subscribe, give me a rating, but whatever podcast you want to go on or plan to go on, it's always good to listen to it first, so that you get a feel and a sense of the kinds of guests that are on, the kinds of questions that the host is going to ask. You get a feel for it so that you can be the best podcast guest ever. Because that's what we want as hosts, right, Ashley?
Yes,
we do. We want to entertain and educate and inform and have our listeners be inspired. So we want guests who are going to do that, who are going to deliver. And one of the best ways to do that is to prepare. So you go and you listen to their podcast and you think about it. And so that's what I tell folks, too, who have an interest in being a podcast guest.
Yes, for all of our listeners, definitely go listen to the shows first. Then, if it's a good fit, please reach out to Dr. Geneva. You are so right, Dr. Geneva, because we want to have the best guests, right? The best content.
That's right.
And it's so important.
Yeah, because we want to bring value to the people who are listening.
Yes, we do.
Yeah. That's what it's about.
And you led the United Way founded an innovative multi-sector national partnership model and launched a new development for girls. Tell us about that.
Yeah. Oh, my goodness. So you just covered a good 30, 40 years in those pieces. So I grew up, I tell people I grew up in the United Way, which I really did. I mean, I started in the United Way in the 70s when there were few blacks and women at all in United Way. And in fact, I was brought into United Way at the very bottom, but I was brought into United Way because the community and key stakeholders had begun to really protest that there wasn't diversity in United Way, that the dollars that were being raised weren't going to grassroots and community groups, et cetera. So one of the things that was done was to bring people like me into the organization. And so, so I started at the very bottom and learned a whole lot and was in every aspect of the United Way, worked my way up, and eventually became president and CEO, first female, first black of United Way. And then about 6 years later or so, there was an affiliate United Way organization in the community, and I worked with others to merge those two United Ways and then became executive VP of that. So I was United Way 25 years or so, and then the foundations and the mayor of Detroit wanted to start a new national model of public-private collaboration that had never been tested before, and they wanted to show how people, when they got together and had a common vision, they could raise more money for social issues like homelessness, child care, youth employment, et cetera, by bringing all the key stakeholders together and having them agree on solutions and then writing grants together and going after money together. So that had never been tried anywhere in the country, and so they asked me to head that demonstration up, which I did for about 10 years, and the organization is still going strong today. So it's an incredible model of that kind of public-private collaboration for good. While I was there, I raised over $100 million for various community initiatives, and I think we did a lot of good. Then after I left that and struck out on my own in my new company, one of the early things that I got involved in was figure skating in Detroit, which was a national program located in Harlem, New York, that the folk were interested in bringing to Detroit for the first time. And so I was asked to create that, and the idea of this program was that let's make available to girls of color the opportunity to learn how to figure skate. And you don't see many of us on the figure skating rink on the ice, and so this was an incredible opportunity for young girls. But the idea was you draw them in through the figure skating, which is very exciting, very creative, very enticing for young girls. But once you get them in there, then you teach academics and leadership and entrepreneurship. So it really was a leadership development program, with the carrot being the chance to have fun with figure skating and learn an incredible skill. And so this was a brand new concept for Detroit, so I was asked to birth that. And so we did, and, you know, the opportunity for young girls was just incredible. And so that program is still going on. So that was the leadership development program. So all of that was, you know, these years have been about learning how to create, learning how to help people create impact by using their influence, their leadership for good. And that good can be in the community, in organizations, or frankly, for themselves. Because I do believe the leader in you is what you need to get together first.
Right.
Because you got to lead yourself, And oftentimes the same leadership qualities that great leaders have, being able to communicate, creating a vision, integrity, honesty, those kinds of really skills and abilities that great leaders have, you need those skills and abilities as a person.
Right.
So to be able to communicate as a person, to articulate your voice is important. To have integrity is important. To be able to empower yourself and others is important. So the skills are transferable, whether you're in an appointed position or you're just the head of your household. And so much of the work that I do now is helping to bring those skills and abilities and opportunities to learn those things to women, particularly women over 50.
Amazing. And I just want to commend you for creating that figure skating program, right? And
yes, it was great. It was so much fun.
Yes.
Oh, it was just so much fun. Ashley, when we went to, there was this young girl who was in the original program in Harlem, and she, gave a speech, and she had to be like 8, 9 years old. She was phenomenal. She was speaking, and she was talking about the program and her dreams and what she wanted to be, what she was going to grow up, and she was so articulate. So afterwards, I went up to her and I said, "You just are amazing. When you're in this program," I said, "So tell me, do you want to be a great skater or do you want to be a leader?" And she looked at me, she said, "Both." And I said, "See, that's my girl. That's what I believe that we, particularly we as women who've been successful in one way or another, I think that's part of our responsibility, to be able to create those opportunities, even if it's just one-on-one, those opportunities for our young girls. Because, see, that opportunity is what got that young girl to have confidence to say, well, I want to be both. And I can be both. I can be a great skater and I can be a great leader. I can have both. The world is open to me. And she got that because of somebody in her life creating opportunity and serving as a role model. That's how she got to be. That's why she said that.
Because a true successful leader, I know you agree with me, Dr. Geneva, a true successful leader is one who reaches back and pulls forward. That's right. A true successful
That's right. That's right. Because, see, that's what I think. You're absolutely right, because a big responsibility of leadership is legacy, I think. So that we as leaders, and again, when I say leaders, I'm not just talking about people who head organizations or in a political office or, lead their business. You can be the head of your family. Like I said, you can be, we take all different roles, but leadership is influence. At the end of the day, it's about influence. And so I think that how we use that influence, I think, is what makes a difference. So as we're thinking about what we want to do, what's purpose in life, what's meaningful, and, we're all always bombarded by the day-to-day. But part of that, is about our legacy. And we're at different points in our life, and when we think about that, but we can always prepare for it because it's going to come for us. But today, wherever you are, you can think about how you're going to be the best person you can be.
Absolutely, and that's so important. So important. And you have this amazing book, congratulations, a best-selling author on the Jersey Shore. So let's talk about it.
Well, that's a story about love, leadership, and legacy. And it's the love that I have for my dad, who was a civil rights worker in New Jersey. And in the 50s and 60s, decided he wanted to get a home in a beautiful new area in Neptune, which is on the Jersey Shore, and was told that and he went to get it with my mom, went to apply on, as he would tell me, a beautiful Sunday afternoon. And he was told on the phone that there were plenty of applications, so come on down. And so he and my mom went, and he was told when we got there were no more applications. And the bottom line, he was told that the developer wouldn't build homes for Negroes.
Mm-hmm.
And he said that he couldn't take that. And so he fought for 3 years, sued and took the case to the Supreme Court of New Jersey and won, and changed housing discrimination. It was a landmark case, changed housing discrimination laws in New Jersey forever. And so that and other work that he did in civil rights, I felt was an important story to tell, and about leadership, about legacy. And we started writing it together. Then he passed, and so it was my legacy to give to my children the book, this story. And so that's what the book is about. And so it's about his trials and tribulations, and in an era that, we always hear about the Rosa Parks and the Martin Luther Kings and the Malcolm X's and all those heroes of ours that we love and revere. There were hundreds of ordinary people who did extraordinary things during those times in the 50s and 60s. My dad was one of them, and I wanted to write the story, but the reason he wanted to write it was because he thought it was lessons in leadership for the younger generation. And so that's what I did, and there are lessons in leadership, yes, but also love. I would turn on the tape recorder and have him talk. So I have those tapes of him, which are very, very precious. But as he talked and talked and talked, it became a story of, what extraordinary things people can do when they use their leadership for good.
Amazing. So listeners, you have to go get this book. You have to get Jersey Shore. How can they purchase it, Dr. Geneva?
Go to Amazon, Justice on the Jersey Shore. Just put in Justice on the Jersey Shore. Go to Amazon. It's right there in paperback and hardback. And if you get it and read it and love it, please leave me a review.
Yes, it's definitely a life-changing book. I remember when your book hit bestseller in less than 24 hours, Dr. Geneva. I remember that day. So super congratulations on your book. Yes. Thank
you so much. I got a text last night, night before last, from a good family friend who really we all grew up together. But he sent the text to me and my sister and said that, I was there with you all, but I never realized, all of the challenges. Because, my dad used to get hate mail, death threats, cross on our lawn, the whole bit. And my friend was saying, I never realized all of that, and just to be there, but to get the other side of things, he just was very grateful. So if it can make an impact or a difference as people read it, my job is done.
And it will. It just made an impact just hearing about it. We haven't even read the book yet. So for our listeners, definitely go support and get this book as well. And Dr. Geneva, I ask all of my guests this question, but I know you have built multiple tables and you're continuing to build them every day. But how did you create your seat at the table?
Oh, that's a phenomenal question. I love that. I want to use that for my podcast, too. I love it.
Okay, awesome. Yes.
Oh, I think I did it through voice.
Okay.
Always speaking up.
Mm-hmm.
When I was a young girl, I remember, and I talk about this often, this often, that I had, and I can just picture the day. I was in, middle school, and I was reading, we were in a history lesson, and the pictures and the stories about black people in the history book, I was feeling uncomfortable. And so I went home and I complained to my mom and my dad, and my dad says to me, without even checking with my mom, well, Gigi, that was my nickname, I want you, don't complain. Tomorrow I want you to go back and I want you to tell the teacher in front of the whole class exactly how you feel. And my mom says, yeah, that's right. And they hadn't even talked about it. I mean, they were just like of accord in that's what I needed to do. And I was terrified. I was shocked. It wasn't just going back and fronting off the teacher in front of everyone, but also I was, what would the other kids say? And but as I realized that, there's some things, Ashley, that are more important than that fear, and that had to do with what my parents would do to me if I didn't do what they said.
Right.
So I said, okay, let me figure out a way. So I went back that next day, and I can remember the fear. I can feel it even now of raising my hand and speaking my mind about what I saw in the books about how black people were depicted, and I didn't think it was right or fair, or not what my parents had told me about how strong and beautiful black people were. And my teacher agrees with me, and we get into this conversation in the classroom. And then afterwards, some of the kids, thought I was cool by speaking up. And it was a lesson for me at a very young age that it is about voice and it is about speaking up. And I've been speaking up all my life since then. And so I created my place by speaking up. When I became the first in anything, I always saw, okay, this is good, but I can't be the last. So I would have to speak up to make room for the other seats at the table, and I always saw that as my responsibility. That's how I was taught, that, it isn't just you, but it's others. So if you get that first, you got to make sure that there are other seats at the table, and you got to use your voice to speak up. So, whether it was, speaking up on some, injustice I saw or something I thought wasn't right, or just speaking up to put an idea of mine on the table. See, it doesn't always have to be about advocacy and rah, we're going to do this. It could be you're in a room and people are talking about an idea or planning something. You need to speak up and give your point of view. And what I would do is, no matter what, if I was in a meeting and it didn't matter what they was talking about, it didn't matter what, I always said, I've got to say something, just so that people know I'm in the room. And so that's how I created my seat, by speaking up and making sure that there was room for others to have a seat and a voice.
And that's so important. I love everything that you said. It's so powerful, having a voice and making sure that you make room for others. That is key. That is key. So what can we expect from you, Dr. Geneva, the rest of 2019? You're doing some powerful things, as you always do. And we're in quarter 3, almost in quarter 4. What can we expect from you the rest of 2019?
Well, I'm going I'm putting the finishing touches on a new book.
Yes.
And so I'm very excited about that, and that I'm October-ish is when I'm thinking about launching it, so I'm happy about that.
Yes.
I'll be crowning the new Miss Black Fit and Fine in September, so I'm really excited, Ashley, about that. And this year the pageant, I think, has almost doubled in terms of the number of contestants. So there'll be many, many more Black women that will be highlighting, showcasing, who are just aging wonderfully. And so that's going to be a fun thing. And then I'm getting prepared for a 2020 live event, Vision 2020. So I'm putting the finishing touches on that. Probably we'll do that in January. And I'm preparing for a new grandchild.
Yes.
So it's going to be so exciting. So those are some of the things that I'm also thinking about, ways that I can bring more value to women, particularly women over 50. So if any of your listeners have any ideas or suggestions, I'd love to hear that. And the best way I can, if they, extraordinary women influencers, they can join that and give me some ideas. They can drop me a note at info@drgenevaspeaks.com, give me some ideas or some suggestions, and I'm always into creating content. So if there are ideas or things that folk would like to learn more about, I'm always open to that.
I love it. Well, super congratulations on all the amazing things, the new book.
Thank you.
Miss Black and Fit, your grandbaby, all the great things that you have coming up. Super congratulations.
Thank you. And then one of the things that I'm going to do is to constantly talk about your book, Sisterhood, and continue to be a Golden Soror at AKA. I'll probably graduate from our sorority's Leadership Institute this year, and that's wonderful. But I just want to congratulate you on your book. I found it to be so phenomenal, but it's so real and authentic. It just touched my heart because the sisterhood and the relationships that I developed in my sorority, I just couldn't have gotten it anywhere else. They are my best friend. We pledged together. We've been friends for over 50 years. And then a number of my very, very closest friends, we pledged. We were together, and so we've been together all this time. And last year was our 50th celebration of our line, and we all got together at a conference. And some of us hadn't seen each other almost in that 50 years. Because, you lose touch sometimes. You don't keep up as much, da-da-da-da. As soon as we got together, it was like we had never been apart. And there was that bond. Yet there was that bond. It was it's what I call a shared positive experience. So it was because of that experience that we shared together that there were bonds and developed that are just really unbreakable. And so many lessons learned about sisterhood. And so I think you bring all of that to light in your book, and I think it's a real contribution to women and the feminine divine. It's just a real contribution. So thank you for your book.
Thank you so much, and thank you for being the forward author. Dr. Geneva is the forward author in the Girlfriend Code Sorority Edition, and wrote an amazing forward about sisterhood, and you exemplify it every day, Dr. Geneva. Amazing. So thank you for being our amazing forward author. Yes.
Thank you.
You are welcome.
Was fun. I was so honored when you asked, because when I got the email, I said, she's asking me to do a fluid? So, I was so honored.
Yes,
really
yes. You are a trailblazer and an influencer, and you are, like I stated, have earned it, have done it, and passing your wisdom and knowledge down to the rest of us. So I'm loving it.
Thank you. Thank you.
Yes.
Thank you.
So will you please tell our listeners how they can follow you on all social media platforms?
Well, everywhere I'm Dr. Geneva Speaks. So my Twitter is at Dr. Geneva Speaks. I hope I'm saying all that right. See, you younger folk, all this stuff rolls off the tongue. Now, your listening audience have to understand that I am 70 and fine. I want them to know that, okay, vibrant and fine. But, some of this social media, but I'm everywhere. I'm out there now.
Yes, you are.
But I think I'm saying it right. But the bottom line is I'm Dr. Geneva Speaks. If you put that in, Dr. Geneva Speaks, you'll get, my Twitter, my LinkedIn, my Facebook, all of that. And then, as I said, my Extraordinary Women Influencers group on Facebook. I love it. Folk can join that and raise all kinds of topics about empowerment and how we can use our influence for good change. And then my website is drgenevaspeaks.com. You can get there and get connected with me as well.
So please follow and support the amazing Dr. Geneva on all of her social media platforms. As I stated, listeners, she is someone to know. You need to know her, okay? And she has shared some amazing wisdom and knowledge with us tonight. And I want to thank you, Dr. Geneva, for taking the time out of your very busy schedule to come to this table. And I can't wait to invite you back.
Oh, and I can't wait to come back. I hope you're going to put me on your list, because I would love to come back.
Yes.
And then I have to have you, on Ignite to Impact.
Yes. I would love to.
Yes. Okay. Then that's a date.
Yes, it is. Yes, a date.
Okay.
Talk to you soon.
I thank you so much. I appreciate this. Has been so much fun.
Yes, it has. Thank you again, Dr. Geneva. Thank you.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. I would like to give a special thanks to Tammy Collins Marquis and John Schamberger. I would also like to give a special thanks to the amazing Pam Perry for referring Dr. Geneva, who is so amazing. It was a great, amazing, and powerful show tonight. Also, I would like to give a special thanks to author Kimberly McLemore, as well as my intern Sarah from Tennessee State University, and my intern Tahira from Bowie State University. You all may follow me on Facebook at Ashley Little and on Instagram at _Ashley A. Little. Thank you.
Thank you for tuning in to another episode of Creating Your Seat at the Table, where Ashley speaks with corporate professionals, celebrities, entrepreneurs, authors, and speakers who are transitioning or have transitioned to entrepreneurship.